Hello, today we're going to expand on trigonometry and learn some new concepts that will be useful in the Pre-Calculus 11 unit. So here we're going to talk about positive and negative angles. Now you might think, what is a positive and negative angle? Well, a positive angle is essentially an angle that goes counterclockwise. An angle that goes counterclockwise. And a negative angle is just an angle that goes clockwise. Now this might be angle like 40, and this, because it's angle 40, it would actually be negative 40 because it's going counterclockwise. And this, if this was 40 and 40 degrees, this would be positive 40. We have a unit circle. Now a unit circle is a lot like your average graph. Now you know how graphs that you learned in like grade 10 or whatever had 4 quadrants? Well, it's the same with this. This thing has 4 quadrants. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative, negative, positive, positive, negative, positive, and positive, negative. And this is x and y. And because it's a unit circle, it also has a radius of 1. Now that you know what a unit circle is, we're going to work on applying trigonometric functions to the unit circle. So let's say we have an angle of theta. All right. Now, if I were to ask you, what would the length of this be, and what would the length of this be, what would you do? Well, what I would do is that, let's recall the SOHCAHTOA. Or specifically SOHCAH, because that's what we're going to use here. So if we want to find the length of this, we can recall the SO. Now, what is SO? Well, that means sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. And we're using the sine of this angle, okay? So the hypotenuse, what do we know about the hypotenuse? Hypotenuse is 1. So sine of theta equals op over 1. Now, hold on. We also know another thing. Anything divided by 1 is just itself. So that means this length would just be equal to the function sine of theta. And that goes for the same with ka, or cosine. Cosine of theta. And since cosine of theta is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, which is 1, that means cosine would be equal to this length. And then tan, well, since tan is opposite over adjacent, tan of theta would just be sine over cosine. And since we know that these lengths are the functions, we can also apply a squared plus b squared equals c squared to this. So because we know this, we could use 1 as c squared, and then sine of theta squared plus cosine of theta squared equals 1. Here, now you have a new function or formula. So far in this video, we've talked about positive and negative angles, unit circles, and applying trigonometry functions to unit circles. Now that's the end of this video, but I encourage you to practice these concepts all by yourself, and please give me feedback on my lesson. And I hope to see you next time. Bye.